everybody, welcome to Who's Your Ventures. My name's Jim, and tonight I am really excited. So I have been working on a jig that I started dreaming up even before I started tying jigs. And so we're talking back in probably the latter part of last year, so maybe somewhere around October, November. And I was working with my buddy Carl, that's been on the channel several times. He's got his YouTube channel is Crappie Assassin, the Bishop Crappie Assassin, and he tied one, and we played with it. It did okay. I mean, it did better than a lot of other jigs out there, but I wasn't satisfied. And so through the concept of, well, I'm going to try this out and see if I can do it by tying jigs myself. And then that's how really Who's Your Adventure YouTube channel got started, was because I wanted to be able to share whatever I did with other fishermen. And especially if, my concept worked. And so as I continued to hone my skills in tying and practicing, I kind of just took this journey with you guys. And there's a lot of you that watch the channel that are very talented seasoned pros. And, you've inspired me and you've helped me along the way. And vice versa, there's a lot of you guys that just started tying like I did, that we were able to help each other and encourage each other and to really draw on, our imagination and creativity. And that's really where the channel really kind of got its roots. But I'd always had this jig in my head, and I was like, I know this is going to work. I know this is going to work. And in the beginning, it just came down to the fact that I just didn't have the skill level at that time in tying to make it happen. And that's how the badass jig virtually came about. I basically took this jig concept I had and incorporated a plastic body to it, and the jig is absolutely fabulous out on the lakes. I mean, it is a very high productive jig. We know that. I have tied just for myself probably a couple hundred different variations of that badass jig, and it is by far in the top three. As of right now, it's the top one jig that I developed. So I have a background in mechanical engineering, and so I watch things, I see things, and I actually have videotaped minnows in our pond and how they react to things, how they swim, and when they're under stress and when they're not under stress, and so on and so forth, to help develop this concept that I'm going to put together tonight. And to the best of my knowledge, nobody else has figured this out, okay? So tonight's video is probably going to be a little bit longer than my typical videos. Because number one, in order to show you how to do this, there's some details that you got to really pay attention to. And I encourage all of you that really want to take this challenge on, to build this jig, to enjoy it and have fun, and to experience what I've been experiencing with this jig. And hopefully we're going to add some clips of me fishing this jig. I did take the one out, actually. I think I got it right here, actually. And basically just literally tore them up, okay? I made I made 8 casts, caught 6 crappie. Now this is a little smaller version of what we're talking about, but this is a hand-tied swimming jig. Okay. Now it has a lot of the same concepts as a badass jig, but the body is totally different. And being as the body's totally different, the reaction in the water is totally different. Okay, how this jig gets tied really affects how it works in the water. And that's kind of what we're going to do tonight. We're going to build, obviously, this color palette of this jig tonight, and then I'm going to show you some other color palettes and the material that I use, which I stumbled onto this material, but it has led to many other jigs that I have done on this channel, and it just shows the versatility of all these different materials. You know, you can use these materials in so many different ways and get multi different effects from them, which really incorporates, you know, exactly the kind of fishing experience that you want to see. Okay, so with that being said tonight, and obviously, you know, I enjoy the comments. Okay, and I'm here to help. Okay, you know, if you've got questions or you run into issues when you're trying to tie this, you know, reach out to me, and in the comment sections, I answer all of them. Emails, I'm on emails every day, you know, and we'll get you through it. Okay. Obviously, the number one thing that we're going to be using is the same material that I talk about in a lot of my other jigs. Okay. So whether it is skirting, which, you know, skirting is skirting, okay, but the one thing that you have to watch is the size of the skirting, okay, because water deflects differently from a thicker portion than it does from a thinner portion. Okay, so that particular bait's going to swim differently. Okay, as the water repels through or as the jig propels through the water or on the fall, that motion's going to change drastically. Okay, so and that's why I have so much of this material, is because I test all of this stuff, whether it's in an aquarium here in my office, my workshop, or it's actually out on the pond, or, you know, in some cases out on a lake. I'm looking at how all these different materials, like the nip skin. The nip skin has been probably one of the premieres of, you know, the jig design that I've been working on, because this material is very flexible. Okay. It's very durable, okay? And it allows you to do things that other materials wouldn't allow you to do. And if you understand the concept when you're tying, you start loose wraps, you know, and the type of thread that you got to pay attention to the thread. I mean, there's some things that you just got to watch as you do this, okay? Because thread can become sharp enough that it actually cuts your material, cuts your skirting, and then it just pops off the first time you catch a fish or a fish hits it. So I'm going to talk about all this stuff tonight because I've conquered this jig now, okay? I finally got this jig exactly where it needs to be, how the tails need to be formed, that it pretty much really closely emulates, or is side by side, it really looks live down there. And the more live that you can make the jigs appear and work, you know, then your catch rate's going to go up, okay? Because that's food. So with that being said, we're going to get started on this. because this jig's going to take some doing, and there's a lot of difference between this jig and the badass jig and every other jig that I've tied. The concept of how we have to do this, okay? So the very first thing, so normally I use hard as nail glue when I start, not with this jig. There's a reason for it and we'll get into it. We're gonna start with just a little bit of super glue gel, okay? Not a lot, okay guys, not a lot. Doesn't require a lot. What we're trying to do is create a solid foundation for this wrap, okay? If your wrap is loose, okay, if your initial wrap is loose on the shank, you got problems, okay? That took me the longest time to figure out what was affecting the jig, okay? I lost sleep with this jig trying to figure it out. Okay, so there's a couple different styles of this jig. So this particular one here does not have any kind of shine to it, okay? So this jig, so this is another variation of the exact same jig, different color palette, but with crystal flash in the tail, okay? Now, that crystal flash, you have to be careful. Too much affects this back here. Too little, you don't really get the effect, and you end up with no different than what this one is, okay? So, and as you can see in the size of the jig, so this size here is a 1/32 ounce. A little longer structure, a little bigger jig, okay? This one here is a 1/64 ounce. So this is something that you would typically use, you know, when the crappie are stressed. You could use this on a double rig. Put your 1/32 ounce on the bottom, put your 1/64 ounce about 6 to 12, maybe 8 inches above it, okay? And now you've got two jigs down there swimming, okay? But there's two variations, one with crystal flash, one without. When you get into this size of jig, okay, here, there's no room for the crystal flash, okay? You will affect how this jig swims drastically, and it will cut down wholeheartedly on your catch rate, okay? So the 1/32, 1/16 ounce, you've got enough room to add crystal flash, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to add this crystal flash, okay? How to add it so that you can on your 1/16 ounce, your 1/32 ounce, you can have that. Just remember, once you get down to 1/64 ounce, 1/80th of an ounce, you're not going to have enough room. If you try to put even one strand of crystal flash in here, you're going to affect how that jig swims, and it's going to cut down on your strike rate. All right, so we've wrapped back to our hook point and back forward, okay? The next step, and I'm going to try my best to make sure I can get you guys in here to see as much of this as I possibly can, because this is important. You start with, we're going to start with a 210D thread. It's a little bit bigger thread, okay? And that just allows this this material, this skin nif, to be loosely wrapped in there. And you want to make sure it's loose at first, okay? Now, what makes this material so good, okay, is we're lining this right down along the hook shank here. I'm going to spin this around. Okay, so we're going to run this material so that it runs right at the bottom, or in this case, if it's flipped the other way, right on top of that hook shank. Okay, that's where you want it, and you want to have a little bit of tension on it so that as you're wrapping it back, okay, you're keeping that right on. Trust me, I had to do a lot of practicing before I was ready to do this on camera. Right back down that body, okay? Hopefully you can see that okay. Now, you want the tail about the same length as your from your hook point to the back of your jig head. And you can use any jig head, but I tell you the sickle hook, the sickle hook is the easiest one to tie this to. You can tie it to other straight shanks like this, okay? But it takes a whole lot more practice to do that. And it's just because of the length of the shank, okay? So basically how I found the best way for me is I bring this around like this, okay? And that's what I'm looking at right there, okay? So then at that point, what I want to do is, if you've got a vise, you want to flip this around, okay? You want to pinch, geez, I don't know if I can show you that. You're pinching between the ball and the shank, okay? And then basically you're going to put a wrap right there and a wrap right there. That's going to start to hold it in place, okay? Now you're going to grab it just like you did before, and we're going to go right down that shank just like we did before, okay? And again, you got to keep it straight. If you get cockeyed, start over, okay? This is not a fast jig to build, I can promise you that, or tie. But the end results speak for themselves. Okay, so now I'm going to spin this back around so you can kind of see. So I've now wrapped down this side of it, okay? What you want to do is you want to take your finger, hold that, and pull tight. That creates your center point of your tail, okay? Then put your scissors in here, run down, and now you've got your tail, okay? Then what you're going to do is you're going to open your tail up, pull down on your thread, like this. And you're going to put a cross wrap right here in your tail. And what that does, see how it opened that tail up? Now, if you want a little bit more opening, all you have to do is the same thing, only you go to the opposite side. And now it's got a little bit more opening, okay? So it's going to spread it out for you. Can you guys see that okay? All right, so now we can get rid of this portion. Now with the nip skin, you can pull this up pretty tight. It's pretty elastic to get your trim in there tightly, okay? Now, by opening that tail up, that allows for the crystal flash, okay? So let me pull some crystal flash out here. Now with crystal flash, with this particular jig, a little bit goes a long way, okay? So basically I got, you know, probably 6 strands here, okay? Now you want to try to keep that crystal flash as close to the center of these tails as you can, okay? All right, now we need to put a whip finish in here to get this thing all locked down real good and tight, okay? That's going to help this jig survive the strikes that it's going to take. All right, then I'm going to come back with my super glue gel. Now I use Loctite. I mean, any super glue gel is going to work though. I just like the Loctite. I think it's just a better brand. And I'm going to make sure that our wrap is completely secure. Okay. All right. Now we're ready to start wrapping. This Chanel, it comes balled up. And usually I take the time because I'm OCD about it. I take the time and sit down and completely unwrap it because it drives me nuts. All right, what you want to do is you want to take a little bit of the end off, and you're going to see that I got a little bit of thread. See the thread is sticking out here? I'm going to line that thread up right here on the very end, okay, and then I'm just going to wrap a loose wrap all the way back, and I'm going to catch that thread, okay? Now what I'm trying to do is make sure that I get that Chanel started right at the base of that tail, okay? Don't go over your what's going to be your tail here, okay? Now you want to kind of pull down just a little bit, put a little bit of pressure on it, okay? And then we're just going to wrap this up in there nice and snug. You want to try to keep this body as proportionate as you possibly can. If your Chanel is loose, it's going to affect this jig. All right. Now we want to get this Chanel snugged in here. All right. We're going to put our whip finish on there to secure this all in. I like to give her a good tug, make sure my knots are nice and snug and tucked up in there. Okay. Now what we want to do with our jig is I want to try to bring everything symmetrical back here. Now this takes a little bit of doing, especially if you've got, you know, the crystal flash in there, because you need to incorporate that into this next step. If it's at all possible with this one, it's being cantankerous. All right, there we go. It's important that your angle on your tail is basically about 40 degrees. How you know it's 40 degrees is you're straight with the backbone of it creating a slight Now, I don't like to have the crystal flash above sticking up because that's affecting the water that's coming over these two tails, okay? I want those tails as free as possible. So yeah, you might have to trim your crystal flash just a little bit. You can see how this one's kind of coming across the tail right there. That's got to go, okay? You want that water as you're retrieving this to give the jig the life that you're looking for. Just like this one. The crystal flash is just to give it some flash in the water. And there you go, guys. I don't even know what to name this. So I'm going to let you guys, my devoted audience for the last, what, I don't know, almost 8 or 9 months. I'm going to let you guys name this. But to best of my knowledge, this is the only swimming hand-tied jig out there right now. And this thing's got a ton of action in the water that gives it a lot of real life look. And fish properly, whether you're casting and retrieving, or whether you're vertical jigging it, or whether you're long lining it, fish properly, this jig is by far in the top. Well, I'm just going to say it. I'd say the badass jig is still number 1 as far as productivity. This is number 2. And it's a high productive bait. And like I said, obviously, I don't know what I did with it. Maybe I put it away. I've got several different variations of it, that I've been working on. This is crystal white with monkey milk tail, pink head on a 1/64 ounce. And as you can see, I really had to peel this back because of the water deflection and stuff. But it fishes great. It's got that great motion in the water. It looks very real in the water. This is a 1/80 ounce. So this might become my new ice fishing jig right here. I know the ice fishing jig video actually just hit probably only a few days ago now, by the time you guys are seeing this. But I'm telling you right now, I think this jig is going to really be awesome. If we get enough ice this year, I promise you we're going to find out, because I'm going to be ice fishing as much as I possibly can and testing this. And obviously I'm bringing you guys along, you get to see it in real action. And if everything goes right, Mother Nature treats us right, we're gonna have a big fishing video where we're using the badass jigs only. So I've invited my buddy Floyd. I've invited my buddy Carl. I've got a handful of other friends that I've invited to do a weekend trip down on Cataract, and I'm only going to be using the Badass jig, and we're gonna put that jig through the test right on video, right on camera, and show you what we can do with it. But this is another variation. So this is a pink cab 1/32 ounce with some blue crystal flash in it, monkey milk tail, and basically a monkey milk body. Okay. This is a 1/32 ounce. This has a brown body with gold flash and orange tail. So, you know, if you get into some stained water and stuff, I mean, this one would probably be a pretty good one. All right. So what else can you do with this material? I was never going to show this one, but I'm going to, because I think it's important to understand how versatile this material is. All right, this jig has a NIF body with fully, so this is one strand of this NIF skin, okay? And as you can see, I have twin tails tied in it, and the body's wrapped on. So the body's really soft, okay? I think this is going to be a lot more durable than, you know, the Badass jig with the plastics on there. That's one reason I tested this. And I've got some more different color of NIF skin coming to try a variation of this just a little bit to see. But as you can see, that's only one strand of this. And if you guys are interested on seeing this tied, okay, how to build this, you know, leave me a comment and just say, heck yeah, Jim, let's do it up. Let's tie it. I have not fished this. I have not put it in the water yet. So I don't know exactly, but I mean, it looks like it should do really well. The wrapping on it is nice and tight. It is very spongy soft. So my thinking is, you know, if the crappie grab it or bluegill grab it, they're not going to let go because it feels like a body on here. So it's something that I'm still kind of experimenting with a little bit, but it was the start of this to get this this is the one that I wanted to ultimately tie. So, but it just goes to show you the versatility of this material. And there's tons of this material out there. This one here is a pretty radical color. I don't know what I was thinking when I did this one, but this kind of has that bluegill look to it. The red tail with the crystal flash, multicolored greens with the gray body and then the green head. I have not had this one in the water yet either. So, but that's what I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, here in the near future, we're going to be on that fishing trip, and you're going to see me fishing a lot of these. In fact, this is all I'm going to be fishing other than the Badass jig. So, there you go. That's tonight, right now. But we're not finished yet. So, I stumbled onto something that literally takes the Badass jig even further. So we took the Badass jig, and then we had the Badass jig on steroids, and now I can tell you that I took the Badass jig and even took it even further. So let me show you what I'm talking about. We talk about stuff all the time. So everybody knows that I don't tip with live bait. I don't use live bait. on any of my fishing trips, okay? I go out there, oh, there it is. There's his baby brother. I go out there because if you're tying good enough jigs, you just don't need live bait. And that's my personal opinion, you know, and with forward facing sonar, I don't feel right about doing it. I really, truly don't. I mean, it's like a deer hunter tying a deer to a tree and taking 10 steps back and shooting it. It just doesn't feel right to me. Now, does that mean that it's wrong for other people to do it? It does not, okay? It just comes down to personal opinion and what you want to experience in your fishing trips, okay? And that's it, you know, just like me doing these jigs and sharing them with you, you know, it's just the level of experience that you want to. For me, there's an adrenaline rush when I got crappie smashing something that I made, you know, or bluegill or walleye. And it just lets me know that, you know, I'm doing a good job. And at the same time, you know, it makes me a better fisherman. So there's a passion level for me that's probably different than a lot of other guys. And that's okay. I mean, we all have a right to have our own opinion. And doesn't make them wrong, doesn't make them right. It's your opinion, okay? Scents, do they work? Okay? I do use scent, okay? And I firmly believe that it works, okay? 100%, I think it works, okay? And it's no different than you or I. If you come in and you smell bacon and eggs in the morning, boy, that gets you going, okay? I mean, you're ready for bacon and eggs because of that scent, that smell, okay? And I think scent probably induces other bites that you naturally just wouldn't get, okay? And so does it improve your fishing? I think it does, personal opinion, okay? Now, I am not sponsored by any of these guys, all right? And I'm not looking to get sponsored by them, but I use this slab sauce, okay? And I use Powerball and crappie niblets and stuff, you know? These are just scents. That's it. It just creates a scent trail. But if you take this and you got a jig and you spray it, okay, and then you toss it in the water, that scent does what? It scatters. It's not a very defined, it's in a bigger area. Okay, so that would be like you going to the state fairground and you smell corn dogs. Now you got to look for them, right? Okay, but what if you could create something that basically led you right to where that scent's coming, a scent trail? Well, that's what I came up with. And that's what this is, okay? So basically what I'm doing, and you can pick these up. This is on Amazon, okay? They're cheap, okay? This one's not so cheap, but this is called the Bombay or whatever they want to call it. Bambuie Bear. It's got a much shorter needle, but what I don't like is it's got a big opening in the end of it. But basically what I'm doing, okay, is I'm filling that syringe here with a little bit of that slab sauce or a gel, thump gel, okay? And I'm going to take it and I'm going to insert this. Let me get down here. Let me scoot this over so you guys can see. And I'm going to insert this right here at the base of the tail, okay? Just like that. And now it doesn't take very much. Just a little pump, and pull it out. What happens when you pull it out, now it kind of seals up behind it. But as you're swimming that bait through the water, that scent's coming out right here, right in your strike zone for your hook set, okay? And that's going to allow that crappie or that bluegill or that walleye or that bass or whatever to come right up into that scent zone and make the strike, okay? Does it work? It does. Okay. I took one of the badass jigs out to my dock. I injected it. Put a small amount of injection about right here at the base of the hook. Okay. And it filled it about 3 ribs up. So all this right here in the belly part was scent. Okay. And then I took it, and there was a whole bunch of school minnows and fry up there around the dock. And I dropped it in the water, and all I done was just kind of jigged it around, and all the fry and everything congregated right behind that badass jig and was following it. Clear up until a point where a small bass come up there and smashed it. I mean, literally smashed it. He come in there like a streak of lightning and just literally smashed it. So does scent work? Scent does work, okay? But you use it proportionately. I think when you're spraying your scent on a jig like this, and then you're casting it out, and the minute it hits the water, you can see the plume. The scent just scatters. And I think that, if you want to chum, that's the best way to do it, I guess. But if you're looking to direct the fish to this particular jig, then that's what you want to do. And this is simple, this is easy, and it does work, okay? So that really, to be honest with you, and again, we're going to test this on the fishing trip. We're going to show you guys and we're going to inject a couple of them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fish one without and one with, and you'll see what I'm talking about, okay? That it's a game changer when it comes to the crappie, at least, and the bluegill for sure. Now, I've not tested any of my walleye jigs with this theory or whatever, but I can't imagine it being much different. The bass fishing guys have been using the same kind of theory for a long time. I mean, they'll inject a worm in several different spots, if they're Carolina rigging or whatever. They've been using that theory for a long time. So why can't crappie fishermen? Well, I think it's just because, of the fact that we've never had a way to be able to do it, and a badass jig gives you that opportunity. That's my personal opinion. Now, what about scenting these? Okay, I would go back to my power ball, my power bait. I guess I got lottery on my mind. I never play it. The power bait, by putting it on the hook and sliding it up the hook shank, is providing that scent right directly out behind the tail. Okay, so I would probably stick with this and use this strictly for like my the badass jig, where it's got a solid body or a plastic body on it that has, you create that cavity with the needle, and then you fill that cavity of that pocket with some scent. And to be honest with you, you never have to re-scent it again. That scent's built in there. I mean, you don't have to see a big bulk of that scent to know that it's there. Once it's scented in there, it's there forever, at least until you lose the jig, probably. So a ton of information tonight, but it's good information. We've got a great jig here, guys. And if you guys are attempting to tie this and you're successful, do me a favor, share your pictures with me. Send them to me in my email, at hoosier.adv@gmail.com. God, I'd love to share them with everybody. I mean, that's what this is all about. I mean, any of the jigs that you guys are tying out there that, I've showcased here on the channel, I'd love to see your success. I really, truly would. I mean, and the crappie you're catching or the bluegill that you're catching with them and stuff, I think that would be just totally off chart. That I was able to share with all of you, what we're doing here, and then you're able to go out and create your own. I think that's cool. So, also, as you can see, there's the second hat. Scott got the first hat, which was a gray one. This is the black one. So let's talk a little bit about the merchandise line, okay? Because there's been some questions on it. So yes, part of what we generate from the sales of our shirts and license plates or mugs and all kinds of stuff does go to help support the channel. Listen, guys, this stuff that I do, there's it costs money. Trust me. Even just supporting the channel is, it costs money. There's a ton of time and money that goes into it, and I don't want to commercialize this channel, none whatsoever. But a huge chunk of what we're doing is to help disabled veterans, people with addictions and stuff. So, we've already said and we've committed to a lot of different programs out there that part of what what we generate from the sale of all of our hats and stuff, we're donating to help these folks, okay? And it's our way of just letting people know that you're not alone. Okay, we're very much a family channel. We're very much a very driven folks that obviously love people and want to help people, and hopefully you guys are that way too. So the website is getting very close to being done. Just know that if you buy a hat, and our hats are probably going to be cheaper than what other places sell their hats for. I've seen them as high as like $35 or something like that. No, that's not where we're going with this. And they're not cheap hats. I mean, these are good quality hats. This is a nice Velcro hat. I like it. I wear a ton of hats, obviously, so it's very comfortable. But you're probably looking at around 15 to no more than 20 bucks for a hat, okay? We're not out here to gouge people, none whatsoever. So, but what we are willing to do is to make sure that we can donate part of these proceeds. So you get a hat, just know that your funds are going to help somebody that otherwise probably would not get that help. And that has to have a meaning behind it too. And I'm not sure that you can actually put a dollar amount to what that means to somebody. So as we get closer to the launch date on that, obviously there's a lot of things, because I can't take care of the channel and do what I do. So I have to have folks help me with that. And they're getting their end all set up and stuff. And once we get the website, they get the website up and stuff, you guys will be able to jump on there and buy a shirt. We've got, I don't know, I think it's like 4 or 5 different colors. I just did the sweatshirts. We got zip ups. We got hoodies that pull over, and we've even got a coat because I like to ice fish. Plain and simple. I love ice fishing, and obviously you got to have a coat to do that. At least until you get in my hut. My hut's usually about 75 degrees in there. Then you're shedding your clothes. So, but I do like it comfortable. I'll put it that way. But the license plates, the mugs, the keychains, and things like that. And we greatly appreciate that, because it also advertises our channel out there to other people. And I get a lot of people asking me when I'm walking around with my shirt on, my hat on, or whatever, what's that, and I tell them about the channel and stuff. Now, some people are interested and some people aren't. I mean, we're kind of a very wide range channel. Obviously, a lot of focus on jig tying and fishing, crappie fishing and stuff, because that's one of my true passions. But I like cooking. I like camping. I like sitting around the fire and telling the stories, the fish stories. Usually, you'd be surprised at how fast that fish grows around a fire, right? But I enjoy that kind of stuff, and that's the kind of stuff we want to share with everybody. So hopefully everybody's on board with that. And if you got any ideas for some content for the channel, we encourage you to reach out to us and say, hey, how about doing some of this or whatever, and we'll try to put it together. Because obviously, we greatly appreciate you guys' support. So that's important to us, obviously. So if we can do that. Obviously, Scott and I have stayed in communication. I just talked to him a day or so ago. The plan is still on for us to do a video. But here's what I'd like to ask you guys, okay? In the comments, leave me a comment if you'd like to do like a live show. Now, I've never done a live, okay? But I think you get somebody with, Scott's level of talent and years of experience. Maybe we do a live with me and him with our vices open, and that way we can interact with you guys right there on the spot and stuff as we're tying. So that might be a possibility. But let me know in the comments if that's something that you guys would really truly enjoy, and then we can get it scheduled. It's probably more of a wintertime deal, I would say, doing a live event here on the channel. I think that might be pretty cool. But let me know in the comments if that's something that interests you guys. I know other channels that I subscribe to, a handful of them do some live stuff and like a podcast type deal, and they're successful at it. But it's up to you guys, because you guys determine what we do. And then obviously Scott was our 60 video, pretty much 200 subscriber winner. Our next contest, so let's talk about it a little bit. We had a goal this year of hitting 1,500 subscribers, and that was probably a pretty zealous goal, because to be honest with you, I didn't even know what I was really doing when I set that goal. Even thinking about doing 60 videos, and I think we're up to like 70, 71 videos now, and we'll go well past over 100 probably videos this year. If you told me that in the beginning, I would have like, well, yeah, right. You just don't stop and really kind of put everything together. But anyway, here's what we were thinking. Okay, we're going to reduce it. We're going to say if we can hit 500 between now and the end of the year, okay, that giveaway, that contest, I promise you, you're going to want to be a part of. And how do we get there? Well, that depends on our subscribership. Obviously, we got to get to 500. I think we're, around 220 right now. So we're not that far off, okay? And if we can get there, what we're thinking is that we have a 500 subscriber mega giveaway, okay? And obviously, again, we fund this, okay? So we're not talking just about fishing jigs this time, okay? We're not talking just about, a backpack fishing tackle box. We're talking about some really nice prizes for folks, okay? Now, how do we get there? Well, we need your guys' help. If each one of our current subscribers reach out to one of their friends or family, and they can get two of their friends or family to basically come and enjoy our content and be subscribers and follow us on our journey, that's what we need. So you do 2 times 4 or 2 times 200, that's 400. And you add that to the 225 we got now, we get there. Obviously, that would be pretty cool for us. Now, I know that a lot of our subscribers, may not be able to get somebody. So that's why I said, if you take, 2 per subscriber, we stand a pretty good chance of hitting our mark of 500 by the end of the year and having what I would consider a mega contest. And I think it would be pretty special. Be a great way to celebrate, the Hoosier Adventure YouTube channel, the first year so to speak. And you know, it is special. No matter what anybody says, everything that we've accomplished so far is very special. So, all right, guys. This video's pushing out there pretty good right now. Hopefully you guys can come up with a name for this jig, okay? I'm leaving it up to you guys. We got the badass jig. We got the badass jig on steroids, and now we got the badass jig with the juice, okay? So, where do we go with names for these jigs? You know, this is a hand-tied jig that has more lifelike structure to it than any jig that I've actually seen out there. You know, what do we call this jig? You know, I have no clue. I really, truly don't have a clue. So I'm kind of relying on you guys to kind of help me out here just a little bit with, you know, what you guys think. I really, and I'm being totally honest with you, I have no idea what the name of this jig should be. But we got to come up with a name for it. And you're going to notice probably on the YouTube cover page that it's going to say the no name jig. Come call it what you need to, or help us name it, something to that effect. You know, because we need to name it. I came up with the badass jig, and I don't know that I can top that, because that jig is badass. I don't know. This jig is badass. So, I mean, what do you call this one? I don't know. We got the bitchin' jig. I mean, that jig's awesome too. So, I mean, I'd say the badass jig is probably number one. This no-name jig is probably number two. And the bitchin' jig is probably number three in productivity. From everything that I've seen out of these jigs. And I'm just being honest with everybody. You know, that's kind of how I ranked them. So, anyway, help me out, guys. You know, if you're, like I said, even if you're a newcomer to the channel, welcome. You know, this is the kind of fun we have. Help us name this jig. So, all right, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed these jigs, because this took some doing to get to this point. But I'm thrilled with it. I'm thrilled with the outcome of it, and I'm thrilled with the productivity of them. And I look forward to seeing what you guys tie up as far as these jigs. And if you got any questions or you need some help with it, please reach out to me through the comments or the email, hoosier.adv@gmail.com. I answer everything. So, good night, everybody. Appreciate you watching. And always remember, please be kind. Good night, everybody.